setting up all of his settings here. Every time we do have new players, it takes a little bit of extra time there. But everybody's good to go now.
Into picks and bans we go, Kobe. Dignitas taking Zach off the table. Kennen going to be banned away by Phoenix1. Some pretty common stuff to start things off with. Nothing too surprising so far. Zach has been just completely ridiculous ever since he got buffed. And Kennen is just a staple in the top lane right now.
Exactly. Split pushers being banned out here from Phoenix1. Definitely do like the opening strategy here as far as the pick bans. Someday, as we said before, has absolutely crushed getting his hands on almost any split push champion. And Phoenix1 kind of gonna force him into a little bit more of a team-oriented play. That being said, you know, he has been quite good on tanks as well.
Now some focus being paid over towards the 80 carry role by Team Dignitas. Looking at Arrow, that MVP from Spring Split, who hasn't been having the most phenomenal start to summer, but you know that he's got that potential in him. They want to make sure that he doesn't get to play that very, very powerful 80 carry and Caitlyn that has been so strong for a while now. And even after they nerfed the Hurricane, everybody kind of discovered the rapid-fire Shiv build.
Uncovered an even greater evil.
Like, wait a second, we got this thing out of the way, but this other thing's actually a lot better. So let's make the win rate go up with the nerfs. Little bit tricky when you have to deal with that. Xayah, the final ban away from Phoenix1. LeBlanc, the last one from Dignitas, and Galio's the first lock-in here for
Yeah, Galio, first pick, is super popular because of the versatility, because you can switch him up to multiple lanes. And meanwhile, Mike Young, as far as you know, what we know about him, it's very little. I've seen a little bit of his challenger play. I've seen it before, but it was only on Lee Sin and Elise, and that doesn't really give away anything because literally every single jungler plays those champions.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be Lee Sin today, as Shrimp is going to steal that one. And that really does bode well if you're looking at the early playmaking that we talked about for this guy.
Speaking of playmakers, Rakan, the other pickup for Dignitas here, big going to be piloting that one, and we've seen the kind of plays he can make as well. The charms into the grand entrances makes for a real scary long-range initiation.
Yeah, I mean, if Big is their main big shot caller, you know, he's the main communicator. Having your main communicator in control of the initiation tools is really, really helpful. And we'll see how he does work with Shrimp as far as, you know, warding and jungle invades do go.
Well, for his debut game, looks like Mike Young is going to be on Kha'Zix here for Phoenix1. Have some of that dueling, ganking, assassination potential there, as the 80 carry will also be picked up for this team. Arrow is going to be on Ashe.
Yes, sir. Going to have multiple forms of initiation here. Kha'Zix could jump in. I really do like this combination with Galio because oftentimes you'll have someone jump in to try and get the Galio ultimate down, but you need some sort of way to still delay it, right? And Kha'Zix ultimate is a nice little safety. Even though Galio ult gives you that damage reduction, he's so squishy that you're going to have to rely on your invisibility as well. And if Ashe is the one to start it all off, then you know Phoenix1 right now are kind of rounding out a fairly nice you know, team fighting composition. Whereas on the side of Team Dignitas, they have a lot of surprise factors.
Absolutely, with Twitch coming in as that final pick in the first half of the draft. Lod on that means he's going to have some scary hyper carry potential. At the same time, he can show up all sorts of places, really get the drop on people, and play off that surprise factor you just mentioned. Rumble and Talia, first bans in the second part.
Exactly. The thing I'm alluding to is this specific play where Twitch can come in with stealth with his ambush, and you can't even see the point that Rakan is going to use to engage on your team, because he'll just jump over to Twitch with the shield, then use the ult W combo, and could even flash on top of that. So like the engage range for Rakan off of an invisible target, an ally, is actually, there's no counter to that, right? Like it's off screen. You won't be able to see him coming unless he's on a ward. So there are a lot of surprise factors. You know, the pick potential is very big, and vision in this game is going to be pretty important.
Gragas will be banned away, and Orianna as well. The final two bans this game. Phoenix1 targeting that mid lane, trying to keep Keen's options limited. But Shen's going to be the pickup. Also, a really classic combination with the Twitch, the submarine as everybody likes to call it. You put the shield on him, he gets up close, kaboom, you got a taunt right in your face.
I mean, there's just a lot of trap cards here for Team Dignitas right now. They've got a lot of, you know, side lane potential here. Always have to worry about the Shen ultimates early on in the game. I do like Shen into an early Galio pick, just because even if Galio gets flexed to the mid lane, Shen doesn't really have too hard of a time in the current state of the game as far as getting through other lanes, and doesn't really have the super hard counters that that sometimes we're used to seeing him. Yeah, you can run like Kled into him or something and try and get a 1v1 advantage, and you always have the potential to stop his Stand Uniteds with your crowd control, but not going to be the case this time around, as Galio will be secured as top lane with that Syndra lock-in for Ryu.
Yep, Syndra locked in on Ryu means he's going to have a lot of kill threat and damage potential, and the response is for Keen to grab himself Victor to deal with that in the mid lane.
Yeah, going to rely on that wave clear, a little bit safe, and just use his mobility to try and dodge the early Syndra harassment. As we said, though, Phoenix1, they have a very solid 5-on-5 team composition, so they will be looking to try and use that team fight prowess, it looks like.
Now, one thing I want to point out, and you can see it on the top part of your screen right now, this is the first game being played by both of these teams here in week number 3. But at the end of week 2, Phoenix1 was the only team in the North American LCS to not have a series win under their belts. So we talked about these guys needing to rebound, kind of stop themselves from descending further into that free fall. They really want to do it right here. But Dignitas is a 3-1 squad. Yeah,
Dignitas are looking very good here in summer, and Phoenix1 definitely have their work cut out for them. As far as trying to fix their problems mid-split here, it's very difficult, and and they are kind of looking towards the future to build on it.
Well, loading into game number 1, eyes are going to be on the rookie jungler here with Mike Young, the guy who's potentially going to be the answer Phoenix1 needs, but you never know. This is going to be his chance to make that impression, kind of really get that initial impact in a lot of fans' minds, especially the Phoenix1 fans who might just be saying, hey, this is the guy we need. This is the resurgence that could bring our team back.
Yeah, and even though there's a lot of eyes on him and there is a lot of pressure as far as first LCS game, it's definitely not all the weight is there, because we've seen underperformances from all of the players on Phoenix1, and it's not really a problem that you solve by just substituting in a single player. This is definitely going to have to be a team effort, and we'll see how they do try and climb themselves out of this early season hole.
Speaking of early, remembering what you said about Shrimp, this is a guy who can get in there and make those active plays, those surprising plays early on. So along with eyes on Mike, I'm going to be keeping him on Shrimp too, especially on a champ like Lee.
Yeah, I always like to check Lee Sin players' runes before we go into games to see if they have an experience rune for the Raptors Red Scuttle early gank, but haven't been able to check on Shrimp as of yet. That is definitely an option for him. No sweepers have been taken for anybody, so there's none of those shenanigans where you try and get an early ward kill and count on that 30 experience to get you over the edge.
Those are always interesting to see people actually try to go for that. Just let your opponents walk into your chicken pit, let them throw down the chicken ward, and then sweep it away.
I do always enjoy the more creative early game setups and the routes that really depend on those small increments of experience. So far, though, Ping actually went down onto the red buff for Team Dignitas. And they don't have a ward on the Raptor Pit that you're talking about, but they do have the early ward kill on Arrow. So a little bit of extra experience down there. In the duo lane, it's not as impactful because the experience there is split. So, jumping to level 2 super early on like a solo laner would do doesn't really happen. But yeah, Shrimp did start on the red rather than the Raptors this time around. So that does signify early possibilities as he's going to go over to blue side for a pretty quick route ending on the bottom side. Or could go red to red. Nah, he's just going to go over to his blue.
Twice as many fans thinking Dignitas walks away with this one as compared to Phoenix1. Still some faith in Phoenix1 after their performance there in Spring Split 2. Always good to remember where a team came from heading into this split. We're so early into it. I mean, we're only in week number 3 now. The teams haven't even played half of their overall opponents so far. These teams haven't, at least. Shrimp continuing to clear through this jungle. Have to see what he goes for after hitting that level 3 that really just enables Lee Sin to do whatever he wants to. Arrow and Shady are going to stay pushed up in this bottom lane, and firing off those hawk shots into the enemy jungle is just great for keeping tabs on the guy.
Yep, found him. He's on the Wolves, and they feel a bit safer on the bottom side now. They know that they have a good 20 seconds before they have to get their ward off in that brush. The cone, blast cone, is available as well, so they would have to worry about that extra mobility as far as the gank is concerned. But Shrimp just going to continue power clearing his own jungle. Mike Young should be able to get a little vision, but doesn't go too deep, so doesn't see the Raptors pulled.
Not going to see Shrimp hanging out up there. Instead, just deciding to head back into his own jungle. Wants to continue farming up on that Kha'Zix. Just get as much experience, as much gold as he can. Make sure that those resources are flowing. While Zig shoves in the top side. Someday trying to dash in, make a little bit of a fight happen here. But Galio's pretty difficult to trade with like that.
Yeah, this should be pretty much farm lane for both those tanks. They both have the possibility of making cross-map plays. Zig definitely on Galio is getting some good harassment down early on shoving, but let's go back to the Mike Young play. And the objective is always in the early game, especially to work around how the lanes are playing out. And Syndra into Victor is always going to be that Syndra looking for harassment early on, looking to get the health lead so that when you peak on level 6, you can go for your kill. And so he wastes as little time as possible by just putting that ward there. To kind of cut off the gank from Lee Sin. Right now he's topside with Someday though, and
Flash for Flash's first blood over to Phoenix1 as he gets right where he needs to be. Mike Young making the call.
Yeah, so he had efficient pathing, efficient defense of his mid lane with that ward to cut off the possible Lee Sin gank towards Ryu, and then gets right in for a lane gank into the tank versus tank lane. Good taunt does land. They're easily able to both flash in answer of Someday's flash there, and no time wasted so far for Mike Young. Gets off to a very early level 5. Super nice for a jungler to be able to power clear like that and then also get a successful gank. Slips right into those rush, and then it's just pretty much perfect circumstances, right?
Yeah.
Someday goes for a trade as the minion wave is pushing forward, and so there's no way out for him once he goes for that trade. Woo!
Flash for Flash. Shrimp tries to make that Sonic Wave happen, but Ryu is fast in the reactions, gets himself out.
And because, Phoenix1, they do all kind of run up that mid lane, Zig actually kind of helps protect the jungle here for Mike Young, so he didn't have to give up his Raptors. Now he's wrapping around onto Keen. Get a little dodge.
Keen's got both summoner spells up. The pop, the cleanse, and the flash both, so double summoner spells burn.
Yeah, he really wanted to save those, you could tell. He got the dodge off, but giant AoE taunt is going to force both of the summoners down. Pretty good early momentum here for Phoenix1.
Especially considering how vulnerable Victor is when those summoner spells are down. I mean, yeah, you've got a gravity well, but if Kha'Zix and Syndra decide to come after you, you've really got to be careful about that positioning.
Good little answer there from Zig as he saw the incoming taunt, got off his punch, and is able to trade back quite nicely. Should be able to equalize on CS fairly decently as well. The roam does cost them a few, though.
A little bit of damage coming out there onto Big and bottom lane as well. And remember, we are still playing on patch 7.11 this week, so the triple stacking Dorian's rings are still functional for the Galio. That era has ended in modern times on the live patch, so we'll have to see how the players adapt to that in the following weeks. But for now, the laning prowess of that champion is still in full force. You get the 3 Dorian's rings, you throw the Winds of War at the back line of the creeps, and you just clear everything.
Definitely true. Meanwhile, bottom lane there, closing in on those level 6 peaks here. You always do have to watch out for, the Rakan combos. He doesn't have Ignite, though, so there's a little bit less, in-lane threat as far as going for that big kill with just the exhaust. But the exhaust is going to be very handy later on when the Kha'Zix that we talked about is going to be jumping in. It's still very useful for the assassins that are going to try and dive into your team. Specifically like this Kha'Zix, so a little bit more team-oriented choice there rather than trying to go with the huge Rakan lane kill.
Shrimp backs out of his own topside jungle, and that means Mike Young is in a good spot to move up here, steal away that red buff, does successfully find that. Hanging around with his evolved claws means that if he does run into Shrimp, he will be a very, very effective duelist. But with Shrimp not around anywhere and both lanes shoved up, he won't find any opportunity to look for here just yet. Neither one of these junglers really finding any more opportunities after that nice first blood that we saw from Mike.
Mike Young back in over a ward, successfully counter jungled the red, now looking to go dive on topside, and remember, Someday still doesn't have his flash, so might be on his own here.
He's got 3 Phoenix1 members coming for him. Make it 4. Zig going to be the one starting this off, tanking the turret aggro. Someday is just not healthy enough to survive that, and Phoenix1 with a good rotation and a solid dive, should be able to secure turret first blood here.
Absolutely on a mission here. They make the early call to swap from the bottom lane, press down this turret, get first gold. And as far as the turret is concerned, got the kill as well. And Arrow not only gets some credit there, but also is able to clean up the minions afterwards. And all that's left for Team Dignitas is pushing the lane on bottom. And then they have the choice whether they want to push down the turret or go for a Drake. And the turret should always be your first goal. You want to at least equalize some of the opening on the map here. Don't want to give up too much territory. Even though the Drake would be super nice, it's kind of the secondary option.
Zig being sent down bottom lane to try to hold this tier 1 if at all possible. 3 Dignitas members hanging around here, though, means that he's got to really just keep an eye out for any sort of an inkling of a dive, because he doesn't want to be caught out, give away 300 extra gold, and still lose the objective here. As Shady and Arrow moving back through the jungle will find Big waiting there for them. Shady with a good eye for trouble as he mines that bush, making sure that he doesn't face check something unnecessarily. Shrimp wanted to clear out that scuttle crab, but also very mindful of that trouble. Syndra hanging out in the brush, not something you want to be face checking anytime soon.
Yoink.
The crab's got a long way to go. There you go, get back there.
Surprising accuracy, though. Always she finds the exact same spot in the river.
It's a well-trained crab.
Go hunker down. Very well-trained. Ryu gonna continue to try and abuse Keen, though, who has gone for the early Merc treads. His cleanse was blown super early, had to play defensive, and it's not really like Victor wants to accomplish anything early on in the lane anyway. Just trying to farm up till you get the massive Hex core clearing on the minions. And he's doing just fine as far as CS, so all goals really accomplished there for Keen anyway, regardless of the summoners being popped so early. And the Dragon also still stands in addition to that turret. So, I mean, Phoenix1 really off to a really good start as far as the game is concerned and the individual play. So much cleaner than we've seen so far this split.
Yeah, it's really surprising what we've got out of Phoenix1 in these first 10 minutes or so. Like you said, they're on a mission. They seem like they came into this with a solid game plan, and they're following through as effectively and efficiently as they can. But the question is, how long does that plan go on for? How much of this clean gameplay do they have in them?
We got a new chapter here as the Rift-Tailed is drawing a bit of attention.
Still got plenty of health left on him. Shrimp and Big hanging around, thinking about contesting this, but now backing away. Lod's nearby too, but he's still all the way up in topside. He's not really making any sort of an movement down towards this, and it looks like Phoenix1 is going to acquire this one.
Especially since they have kind of this lane control with Ryu on the Syndra in mid lane versus the Victor right now. It just adds a lot more threat to Phoenix1. Any type of plays that they really want to start on this top side of the map. So Team Dignitas do not want to take that fight. Just keep Lod up on the top side farming out those minions. And he has been able to get a pretty decent lead in the minion score during all the objective work that Phoenix1 were getting done.
Real quick update. Looks like the pause came from Phoenix1's side. Mike Young just making sure of a couple things with his mouse sensitivity. Again, what you said at the start of the game, those settings, first time a player plays on the LCS stage, they got to make sure that everything's exactly how they want it to most closely replicate the experience they have when they're playing League of Legends all the time. I mean, you know how tricky it would be to try to play with a mouse that's jumping all over the place or moving really sluggish.
Yeah, biggest troll I like to do to Freak is go by and press the little, plus on the front of his Logitech mouse so that the mouse sensitivity is one little tick too high.
Just slightly too fast. Because if you make it too fast, then he'll be like, oh man, what's wrong with my mouse? I really got to fix this. But just a little bit. It's enough that he won't notice it, but enough that he'll still miss his skill shots.
Yeah, perfect.
That's tricky.
All right, gonna get that one fixed up. Shouldn't be no problem. Meanwhile, let's take another look at this game because Phoenix1 are really setting themselves up in a very good position to transition into that mid game. And we kind of talked in Champ Select about the team fighting prowess that they can bring. It's going to be Ash Arrow into the Kha'Zix Leap into the Galio ultimate that they would like to get off, and then Ryu looking for the prime targets to land the pass-through stuns on. But we still haven't seen Team Dignitas use any of those trap cards, any of those surprise moves that we saw them pick. The Twitch hasn't really been able to get out of lane since they did that early swap, right? The Ashe and the Karma were pulled out of lane to push down the turret super early and get Phoenix1 this lead. So Lod's just been pushing minion waves so far, and they haven't really used the Shen ultimate or the kind of Rakan into the Twitch assassination duo.
Yeah, you can see just by the CS difference between these two AD carries. Arrow's been the one moving around the map, helping the team. 77 CS on that Ashe. Laud sitting in lane, farming it up. He's got almost a 30 CS advantage, but his impact is nothing.
Well, and you can see what he's going for with the build as well. He's not going with the very classic Twitch build of Blade of the Ruined King into Hurricane. With that BF sword, he's definitely going for more of the flat attack damage early, and we'll see how this one does play out because it feels like Team Dignitas are going to have to do something a bit sooner than later to try and turn this one around, as Phoenix1 have a pretty clear path once they get this lead. You know, they already have the turret advantage. They can start moving up their wards, and they have their Rift Herald as well. Don't forget about that one. Helps with chaining all of the outer turrets, at which point one team getting all 3 outer turrets without the other team, you know, really breaking any makes it a very kind of one-sided game. As far as much of the map as you can control.
And you know, we talk a lot about taking turrets and how that ends up being a standing gold difference and how you can get them back so easily from a swing from a single team fight or something. But when you do take all 3 of them at the start, you're looking at something around a 2,500, 3,000 gold lead just from those. And if that's the entirety of the lead in the game, it's really hard to deal with the team that doesn't have it.
All right, well, let's see if we can see any of the recon or surprise plays come out.
Oh, no! There we go. Surprise, Ryu. Silence damage. Kaboom. Laud grabbing the kill.
So Big was not level 6 yet, so it wasn't the exact combo that I said, but it was almost the exact combo because he just went in with the E onto Laud, then goes in for the W as predicted, and they are able to pull that play off even without having to use his ultimate. So best of both worlds. Now Big does have the recon ultimate, and next time around, he can use the flash as well, so there are a lot of extra tools here for Team Dignitas. We didn't have to wait long, Captain.
Nope, we talked about it, and then 10 seconds later, Dignitas pulls off this.
I love it when my, theoretical plays actually are shown in the game, right? Rather than just theory crafting, Team Dignitas are able to utilize it effectively there. They got themselves a mid lane kill. Unfortunately for them, they don't get any objectives afterward, and it is just a mid lane kill and blowing some very important summoners on Syndra. But Phoenix1 still very commanding position in this game.
I want to see if they do take advantage of those summoners now that they have them down for the next couple of minutes. The flash, more than anything, what you rely on as a Syndra, because you have no escape mechanisms built in. I mean, you can soccer kick somebody away from you, but that's about all you got. If that doesn't work out, you're in a pretty deep amount of trouble if you get yourself collapsed on. Arrow just farming up here in the top part of the map. You mentioned how Laud's build was a little bit different from expected. Arrows is pretty much par for the course these days. You see the Blade of the Ruined Kings come out on a lot of 80 carries, and he's not looking to shake that up.
Laud here looking for another sneaky move, but there was a ward in the first rush that he walked through, so
unlucky.
They know that he was at least there 10 seconds ago and not going to fall into that trap. All right, so the adaptation here from Phoenix1 is to just play more around Ryu, since, as you said, he's vulnerable without summoner spells, doesn't really have any escapes, and they're just sending the rest of the team up to kind of back him up right now. They're in the jungle still, though. Too late.
Oh, that's the kind of combo that'll take you down no matter what. Dignitas abusing his vulnerable mid lane.
Oh, the rest of the team was so close. They were in the red jungle. Not quite there to back up Ryu yet, and the timing difference means that he is dead. So that return gank that we talked about with the Recon Flash and the Recon Ultimate, easily able to finish up Ryu, and it was just in time.
Plus, when you've got Shrimp there on the Lee with the kick, there's just no way out. The damage comes through, the kill goes up, and Dignitas ties this game up in terms of kill count. Still down in terms of gold, just because of the first blood turret that went over to the side of Phoenix1. But Laud's looking to fix that pretty quick up topside if he can.
Yeah, I mean, that was 2 flashes and 3 ultimates slapped down on Ryu's head. So they definitely are going to guarantee that kill, and they were able to do it. But Phoenix1, not only do they trade for that turret as well and answer on the bottom side, but they also are able to solo up that dragon. So again, Phoenix1 with the objective focus is paying off. Meanwhile, here's the combo. Bit unnecessary with all the extra there. Probably didn't both have to flash in for it, but hey, they killed him.
That was a little bit overkill, but it looked really cool, and it sent a message. So now Ryu and the rest of Phoenix1 have summoned the Rift Herald here in the mid lane. Mike Young was the one who did pick that up. And they should almost guaranteed get this first turret with it. The Rift Herald headbutt should just, slam that one right into the ground. And it looks like they're going to go ahead and abandon ship, throw the Coral Rift Herald under the bus, and just go for the one turret.
All right, well, that BF Swords paid dividends now for Laud. He's got his Infinity Edge completed, so he can rely on those really big crits. As soon as he does get, Zeal item and stuff, this starts coming through. It's going to be more damage than the Blade build, but, oh, Keen gets stunned.
Keen in some trouble there. Stand United going to be keeping him alive as Zig makes a grand entrance into the fight as Someday grabs the kill into Mike Young, and Zig now finds himself caught between all 5 members of Dignitas. The damage pours through, and Keen's grabbing the kill.
Uh-oh, the defensive maneuvers here from Team Dignitas turn it right around on Phoenix1. No objectives left for them to take again, though, so it's just going to be pushing in on minion waves. They don't have any, real threat on this turret, though, so even though they can push it in, not even going to get any turret damage out of it. So kills continue to come through for Team Dignitas, but that's all.
Dig can win fights, but it's the translation. It's what are we even fighting for? And Dignitas' answer is to kill the other guys. They've got to find something to take off the back of these. Someday looking here in the bottom.
Yeah, Someday might be able to finish up that turret. It is pretty low. All right, so this was a Phoenix1 play that they started off knowing that Ryu is in the bottom lane. Ryu, you can see the Syndra walking up now, was at no point involved in this, right? So when Team Dignitas collapsed with every member and turned the numbers around, they were able to just brute force win that fight and turn it right back around onto Phoenix1.
And they do get that bottom lane turret you were talking about as well. That's the kind of prize Dignitas needs to keep those eyes on if they want to build these gold leads up, which they now do have a 600 or 700 gold lead over their opponents. Very, very modest amount for this point in time, but still it's something. They're not behind, and they're working on that progress towards those bigger items. Like you mentioned with the Infinity Edge on Twitch, that just means those crit multipliers are going to be coming online sooner than they otherwise would, so he can get very scary with 1 or 2 more items under his belt. And Twitch alone, just because of the way that his ultimate works in team fights, you can gun everybody down really, really quick.
Exactly.
If Laud keeps farming.
And even though, Galio can get in there with a taunt, the shots are still going to go through him. And all the other members are fairly squishy, so that's why Laud kind of going for the crit-oriented build, wants to be able to win those team fights and bring that power to DPS for his team. Him plus, Keen on the back line is definitely a formidable threat there that Phoenix1 do have to take into account. Phoenix1, though, have a lot of, CC that they can try to bring down. Looks like they're going for Someday at the moment.
Seeing if they can find him, but he's way out of there already. Nothing really for them to take at this point in time, though. I mean, when you have all 3 outer turrets down from your opponent, when the Rift Herald has already been taken, when the Drake hasn't spawned yet, it's really hard to move up into that tier 2 line without having more vision laid down, without ample preparation.
Exactly. They do have the Ash Arrow to try and grab someone, but Big is very slippery. Rakan, with the multiple movements that he can take. Same for Lee Sin, and Twitch can just go invisible, so kind of difficult to nail one down. Oh, but Oop. Big actually goes into the stun.
Big having to flash away from the follow-up there, getting himself out of any more CC heading his way. Does manage to escape, but let's go back to what you were talking about, Kobe. Let's go back to that CC chain of the arrows into the Gallios, into the follow-up with the Syndra stuns. How is Phoenix1 going to put themselves in an opportunity to get that chain going? Because right there, it didn't work out, and now they're a bit on the back foot as Dignitas moves into their territory. Keen bringing down some of the burst. Throws out that ulti.
Yeah, Ryu had his ghost on, so that ultimate was pretty risky. Actually, Laud might be going for a risky play. I don't know, he's invisible now. Yeah, not going to happen, but he kind of baited out a couple of good spells there, Ryu, with just his ghost.
Ooh, Laud in some trouble. Stand United comes in, but the heroic entrance will follow. Phoenix1 have now cut off Dignitas between them and their base. Trying to chase after this, seeing if they can get onto Big. The damage comes through, and Ryu will just delete him with the ultimate.
That's one, and they've got another minion wave on the way, so they can return to the turret afterwards. Phoenix1, 5 men strong, are able to get the kill and pressuring on this turret to try and even that one up.
They will lose their own tier 2. Keen makes sure that they're in the top side, but it will be T2 for T2 overall, as Phoenix1 does get that one there in the mid lane and back off.
Interesting little trade there, because it is just 1 turret for 1 turret, and 2 flashes were expended to try and get that kill onto Big. Initially, Mike Young here going for the initiation. And I do like this one because he knows that he has the Galio to rely on with his engages. So doesn't really hesitate there and does go all the way in. Then on the other side, though, Ryu flashes over for the kill onto Big, and they aren't really able to grab anyone else. We'll see if that ends up costing them later, because you know the positioning of Syndra is very important, and with all the kind of surprise moves that the Team Dignitas composition can pull out, if Ryu dies, you know, before a big team fight, there could be more than just trading one turret for one turret like we saw there, and you know, a support kill going over. The rewards for those types of plays get bigger and bigger the game goes on.
A single flash and the consequences of it just balloons the later and later you are into the game. But Shrimp and Dignitas managed to acquire themselves a Drake. So we'll see that Ocean bonus regeneration helping them now as the rest of the game goes on. And not going to be a huge impact. It's not an Infernal Drake that'll give them extra damage in the team fights or a Mountain that'll snowball those objectives, but they'll still keep them topped off as they go back and forth and trade blows with Phoenix1.
With that Stand United used in the last engage also, Team Dignitas are reluctant to send Someday into a side lane right now. He's just grouping up with the team to fight for vision.
Not exactly where you want to see your Shen. Much rather have him down in that side lane if at all possible. He does have TP available. Zig also with his own TP. Ultimate going to be up in that Galio just momentarily. There it goes. Cooldown comes up right as I'm saying the words. Summoner spells up completely for Zig and Arrow and Shady. Big, Laud, Keen, Shrimp, Someday. All summoner spells are available for Dignitas. Mike Young and Ryu's flashes, the things that are down.
But they are now sending Laud up to the top wave. So I guess they're just trying to, you know, hold on right now and soak up the minion waves. As you said before, Laud with his crit build is going to really, really take over in team fights. And they're farming him up a little bit more to get some more crit on him. But
okay, Arrow found Someday, but that's not really somebody you can collapse on. He pops that Spirit's Refuge, gets himself away, only takes minimal damage.
yeah, and even though Keen used his ultimate, oh, Someday goes back in.
Oh, guy knows no fear.
He's getting chunked out, but you know it's not that big of a deal for him because now his Stand United is up and teleport is available, so he can easily ult back to this team fight.
Lot is just waiting on the very, very edge of vision. Seeing if he gets the chance to pop out for that surprise factor, but Dignitas not quite getting those chances just yet. Phoenix1's doing a good job of being aware of that, playing against that, staying near the turrets, and not letting Dignitas get the drop on him.
All right, Big is looking for Ryu. Remember that important Syndra flash that was used. And this Rakan with his flash available!
Oh, Someday off to the side. Dignitas. The initiation is botched, but now can they do anything else? They're gonna find the kick onto Arrow. Shrimp goes down, Arrow somehow still stays alive, and Dignitas has made some critical errors. Big over the wall to escape, but they barely miss out killing the enemy AD carry, and Shrimp suicides for nothing.
Oh, Big definitely had his eyes onto Ryu, but just with the ghost, Ryu's able to walk out of the Rakan initiation, and then Shrimp gets this really beautiful kick onto Arrow, but they don't kill him. And Phoenix1 walk away without losing a single member.
Mike Young trying to go for that enemy red buff. Big wants to set the trap, but Mike gets himself out in time. Laud was waiting right there for the damage.
All right, we'll take another look here because Big goes for the flash initiation off of Laud, just barely misses out on snagging Ryu, and then you think they're gonna abort, but Shrimp has the Q, so he goes on this. Oh, they were so scared of the Galio ultimate, they didn't finish the auto. You saw two of Team Dignitas back off of Laud because they thought that he was dead already, and nobody commits to the kill. That was definitely a kill that was going to land, and they still didn't get all the way out of the Galio ultimate.
It looked like he should have been dead to rights, but he wasn't. The Galio damage reduction and, of course, the threat of the ulti itself comes in just enough to keep Arrow living. 1-0 and 2 on this Ashe, but now I think I spoke a little bit too soon, Kobe. They jump right back onto him. This time the damage is there. Big's going to be ulted by the Shen just to make sure that nothing bad happens on the back end of that play. Dignitas will find their pick.
All right, pushing with this minion wave. Here comes Galio around the side, but Team Dignitas should be able to finish off this turret pretty easily.
Yep. Last auto attack. Laud makes sure they're not letting that one walk away with just a little bit left. And that's tying up the objective count. 4-4 in those turrets, 1-1 in Drakes. They're even the same kind of Drake. And slightly under 2,000 gold here for Team Dignitas. The edge over Phoenix1. Both these teams, remember, were playoff teams in spring. We talked about how Phoenix1, very surprising to see them sitting on 0-4 after 2 weeks of play when they were the #3 team overall. Dignitas finished 5th, 6th overall in playoffs. Managed to just qualify towards the end after having a really rough start in the spring split. This was a team that came back and then won 7 in a row or something crazy like that and just really turned everything around for themselves and have continued that momentum coming into summer.
Yeah, Team Dignitas definitely doing well here in summer. I like how Phoenix1 are trying to turn their split around here. You know, they came into this game with a very focused plan. They pushed Someday off of split pushers, which has proved effective so far. You know, him on the Shen is not nearly as big of an impact as we've seen him on, you know, the Fiora or the carry top laners. So, you know, step number 1, pick bans. Idea was fairly effective for them. And then in-game execution as well, they just look so much more focused than they have previously in this split. As far as their early jungle pathing, they're focused on objectives so far. And right now they find themselves in a competitive little game number 1 here with Team Dignitas, even though they are down in gold, still in a pretty decent situation.
Now, one thing I want to ask you, Kobe, what about this adaptive helm pickup on Zig? Because this is an item that you look at.
I hate it.
Yeah, I figured you were not going to be a big fan. This item and the way it's designed, the stat inefficiencies compared to the Spirit Visage, it's made to go against something like a Singed or a Rumble or something that constantly ticks you for the same little damage thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you can see why they get it, you know, versus the repetitive damage. And Shen has multi-Qs and all that, but I just absolutely hate the item in general, so I'm definitely super biased because I just think it was, you know, kind of a poorly executed one. Here we go, though, because Lod is flanking around, and, you know, the longer the game goes, the more important these control wards are. You see,
right.
Dignitas are taking down everyone that they can sniff out from Phoenix1, and if you run out of these control wards, it makes you so vulnerable to multiple different angles of engagement from Team Dignitas. They can come at you from so many different, you know, spots on the map. You kind of have to have your back against control wards to feel safe.
Dignitas has decided to send Lod down towards the Mountain Drake to just take care of that by himself, which he can do really, really easily, while the rest of the team hangs around that top part of the map, keeping control over Baron, so Phoenix1 can't respond with that, and it's just a free objective for Dignitas. They played it better.
Not enough here. Control wards to feel safe for Phoenix1, and you'll start to see them clam up. Whenever teams are facing a composition like this that have, you know, so many different ways to initiate, sometimes we'll see teams get extremely timid in the way they go about trying to get vision. Even with Hawkshot here, it's kind of risky for Phoenix1. You can see they're moving out as a team now, trying to regain some territory on the map, but Galio has to be close even to ult.
Damage coming in, knock up one to Ryu, who's going to be bursted low and taken down. Lod grabbing the kill as the damage continues, but Lod has now found himself killed off. Zig knocked up, Dig knocked up, Big knocked up into the air as Shrimp has to now retreat, and Dignitas has found themselves routed. The turnaround from Phoenix1 as Someday's trying to stop this damage. The shutdown onto Mike Young. It's a 2-for-3 Keen and Someday, the last 2 remaining for Dignitas, will try to fight this out. Keen's got the damage and Zig will fall, and the arrows will fly back into Dignitas' bodies. Arrow not quite going to be taunted up, but Keen is chasing this down. The laser doesn't find the mark. Someday is one hell of a big brick wall to try to get past, though. Taunt not finding its mark again. Keen continuing the chase, not quite with the damage, and there it is. Dignitas will ultimately come out on top.
Oh, what an incredibly close and back and forth team fight right there, as both teams with the, you know, massive crowd control tools available to them. The couple of seconds that it took for Galio to walk in range for his ultimate really meant a lot. You can see him walking up the river right now, but it's a nice initiation by Team Dignitas onto Ryu, with Big and Lod combining for that kill early on. But the counter damage here from Phoenix1 almost immediately takes down Lod in answer of that kill, and then Mike Young on the Kazakhs can flash into the backline to finish off those 2 kills, and it's just up to Keen here. He's working with Someday as the front line. Oh, during the replay, they're on the Baron, and here they go. No vision for Phoenix1.
Oh man, just what you were talking about, Kobe. You give away those vision lines, you give up those control wards, and Dignitas just takes what they want. Oof. Look at the damage from Keen. He is going hero mode.
I mean, it's It's pretty crazy because we saw Laud open up to kill Ryu, but as soon as he killed Ryu, the counter damage there from Phoenix1 were able to get, you know, the exchange kill with 1 carry each down. It was actually just Someday and Keen doing really, really good work, melting the front line there in the last 2v3 that was able to turn the tide, and they basically were able to earn this Baron. But now,
stun comes out onto Big, who's got to get himself back. Syndra ult not quite going to find the damage, the charm, the damage, the chain CC. Zig now finding himself bursted down. Keen going unstoppable as they find a double kill for their mid laner, and Dignitas will push 5v3.
Oh, the other thing about Rakan is he has a lot of defenses as well, able to jump right back to his team there. And if you watch the team fight, Laud actually didn't open up from his stealth until the very last auto attack for the last kill there, because he was kind of zoning the backline with the intended threat of the Twitch. The longer you say stealth, you know, the more difficult it is for Ryu to use his stun without having to worry about a Twitch killing him. And the more difficult it is for the backline to really commit to that fight.
Sometimes it's not the damage that gets you, it's the threat of the damage instead. Enough to make you psych yourself out and stay too far away to save your teammates. And that costs Phoenix1 a mid lane inhibitor.
And while Laud is staying invisible, you know, and kind of providing that unseen threat, he's not providing damage. So all of it is on Keen's shoulders. And Keen is absolutely just melting these fights. Here goes the arrow. Big is able to take it, which is exactly what they want. Then he just eased right back to Shrimp. He even took the Syndra ultimate there. So he soaked up quite a few cooldowns on a very low value target. And as I said, the work that Keen is doing, absolutely melting the front line there. Team Dignitas really taking control through the mid game.
Now Mike Young has not that Guardian Angel for the next few minutes, so that's going to be a big resource not available for him. Killing the Kha'Zix twice in a fight, not being punished for having to make that second death happen, means that Phoenix1 has to find a way to try to stabilize here, because now they're down 7,000 gold in a game that we were talking about how we were surprised it was so close. And Dignitas just said, oh, don't worry, it only took us a little while to get going. This is going to have the result that people were expecting.
I mean, so Victor kind of fell out of popularity because so many nerfs came through to the early game where increased cost on the Hex core made it a little bit delayed for you to get to that super sweet wave clear, you know, side. And we did see Keen get, you know, punished a little bit early on, had to blow his summoners, and was just kind of going defensive, early Merc treads and farming up. But still, the late game damage is definitely there, and he's absolutely providing it for this squad, as well as in combination with Laud going the crit build on Twitch. Means that they have so much extra damage here for the team fight phase. Now it's all down to Baroned up split push. 1-4 here with Shen. Very easy call for Team Dignitas to pressure both sides of the map as super minions are going to come up the mid lane shortly.
Really easy to make a three-pronged assault out of that one. Someday in that top lane is just never going to relent. Always keep applying that pressure. If nothing else, he'll just keep Zig up there. Galio's good at clearing minions away, but when you have to clear Baron enchanted minions away, all of a sudden it's a lot harder to do. And Phoenix1 will have to deal with these 3 different threats at the same time as Keen has rotated over towards the mid lane. He's going to make sure that he's got the opportunity to come around from the side if necessary with those lasers like you're seeing right now, finding their way onto Arrow. Arrow comes out, finds his way onto Laud, who instantly is going to be saved by the McHales. Keen getting himself away, Stand United making sure nothing bad happens to him to help him survive that Syndra ulti. And with that ult threat down, it's a lot more comfortable for Dignitas to keep this push going.
Yeah, a lot of shields come through onto Keen. Both him and Mike Young pretty low. Mike Young right back to the fountain. That means Team Dignitas are going to be able to get in there and take down this inhibitor turret. 2 shots.
Damage clears it, and now Phoenix1 trying to see if they can go for a fight here. Zig jumps in, but he won't find the knockup. There's no courage of the Colossus proc just yet. Someday backing himself out after popping the Gargoyle's Stone Plate means he won't have that cooldown available as Big goes into the fight. Off-bitten with the charm, trying to see if he can find anything. Arrow going to be taunted back. Ryu as well. Someday having to retreat. The damage continues coming out as Dignitas will chase after Phoenix1. No mana left now onto that Galio. Keen still has so much damage, ultimate or not, in his kit. Phoenix1 cannot afford to stick around any longer. A 6,000 Baron power play for Dignitas.
Nice little defense mounted there from Phoenix1 to hold on to their inhibitor, but Team Dignitas will go right back out to the map and take all the resources. You can see there's no vision left for Phoenix1 outside of their base right now, and it's It's very scary for them to really go get that vision of those objectives that are coming up. 1 minute and 40 seconds left on the Baron, which Dig can then use that neutral objective to really pressure this game in and see a fairly quick end.
And look at the way the vision looks on the map right now. You've got a couple of wards from Phoenix1 in the top part of the map. Dignitas wards right outside of their base. Hell, there's one inside their base. And they just have no way to contest this, no way to try to creep back into the map, because Dig is so far ahead now. And if Keen or Lod is waiting in a brush, you're in trouble.
Yeah, they knew they don't have very many options. So Phoenix1, as soon as Team Dignitas retreat, they immediately run for the Baron area, plop down as many wards as they can because they know it's coming up soon. And then they're going to kind of hope for this Hail Mary play where if Team Dignitas start off the Baron, Phoenix1 are going to try and go for a collapse into that Baron pit. And hopefully for them, they can get a turnaround team fight at the Baron pit. I don't think that they should be the ones starting it off, though. Right now, Shen is actually in the base. They're going to have to force it.
Ooh, good stun there onto Keen. Dig jumping into the fight. He's got the charms onto multiple people, but now they still got to try to disengage this one. Big getting himself killed. Dignitas backs away with the remaining members alive, but they're still buying time for someday. The blue inhibitor respawns mid lane. The bottom lane one's still just going to get beat on with these Thunder Sticks.
Yeah, the problem with Titanic Hydra is it doesn't actually help you kill structures very quickly because the on-hit damage does not apply to structures. It's got a tiny bit of attack damage and you're mostly health. So it takes someday a while, but he eventually does get that inhibitor, and now he's working on number 2.
Trying to get this as quick as possible. It's going to be a few more thumps.
That's why you don't see construction workers with Thunder Sticks.
Lod's going to come in there, though. He's got the tools to make this a bit scarier.
Yes, he does.
He'll join up with Someday, and these guys are not even worried about inhibitors anymore. They popped the Twitch ulti going for the Nexus turrets, and now all Keen and Strip have to do is stop the back. It's going to be GG for Dignitas. No fight will happen from this. Lod and Someday, two-man, will take down the Nexus. The damage comes through, it won't do a thing, and Dignitas has game 1.
And the final trap card was the most interesting.
Yup, you wanted to see the trap cards. We didn't get to see them for a while, but an ending with one, that's how you do it with style.
Lod able to sneak into the base there as Phoenix1 take down the Baron, and that is the wrap here for game number 1 of the series.
And I know we talk about Big always having a smile on his face and always seeming so high energy, but that has not changed now after the outcome of game number 1. Who wouldn't be happy about ending the game like that before your opponents can even respond to it? Dignitas had a very close game with Phoenix1 at the start, but man, they pulled ahead and showed why they were a 3-1 team.
Yeah, and Rakan's pretty fun to play as well. You can see him, going off the multiple dashes and initiation. So yeah, definitely credit due to him a little bit. We can see some improvements there as some of the Rakan games have been just stellar, and there's a lot of room for messing up initiations or small windows. We've seen people really become more and more accustomed to dodging those initiations. But yeah, Team Dignitas absolutely able to bring the entire game back there in the mid game.
But the early game was something that worked a lot better than we expected for Phoenix1. They got 2 early kills in the top lane. Things looked good at the start.
Yep, let's take another visit here to Mike Young's first game. He was able to clear very efficiently his route and then also slip into the brush here for the lane gank onto Someday. Then he continued his focus on the top lane, and things were looking quite good for Phoenix1 here in the early stages. Now they were punishing Someday, able to get objectives off of it as well. They got that first turret by switching up the bottom lane first. They made the call to have Arrow and Shady head up to the top lane, win that 4-man play that we just saw. And they really did get the ball going early, but stalled out when they got to the team fight phase here in the mid game. And the picks kept coming through for Team Dignitas, but not really there for Phoenix1.
And that's what we were talking about at the start too, is it seemed like Phoenix1 playing the objective game, getting the turrets, getting the Drakes off of what they did find, but Phoenix1 were the ones not able to make the fights happen. Dignitas making the fights happen. They're the ones who were struggling to find objectives, but as time went on, it was like all of a sudden, hey, we can fight, and then we'll get objectives out.
Here's another look at the big play before the Baron, I believe, as that was the initiation. Big was able to lock down Ryu, and Lod was able to get the damage to finish him off, but they killed Lod in the process. So then it turned into this 4-on-4 where Phoenix1 are actually on the chase, and Mike Young diving in the backside. They get 2 members down, so it's a 4 versus 2 technically at the end of this team fight. and Keen just absolutely demolishes the entire team here. Someday is running frontline for him. He's able to get off multiple shields here, and then they absolutely turn this around. First he takes down Mike Young, then they turn down on the front line, and Keen on the Victor, as you can see by the damage charge, just absolutely took this one on his shoulders. And past mid-game, 7-0-4 on that Victor, by the way. Definitely deserving of some honors. Player of the game, probably.
That's how you do a damage chart right there. Keen showing exactly what Victor can do there in the mid lane. We'll see if Phoenix1 can even up the score when we come back, though, with game number 2 against Team Dignitas. Don't touch the browser. We'll be right back after just a few minutes.